Tonight we are here to learn about another organization and a man who has made miraculous changes in people's lives. And Dr. Stewart and Dr. Brilliant will both briefly speak, and then we will view a 35-minute film which documents the life and mission of Dr. V, Dr. Venkataswamy, and the Aravind Eye Hospitals. And we also, of course, have the rare opportunity to have Dr. V in our presence this evening, which I think we're the only premier of Infinite Vision who has had that incredible opportunity. That's true. Yes. So let's see what we are going to, at this time next, I'm going to introduce our first speaker. I am not the first speaker. Dr. William B. Stewart. He's our fearless leader of the Institute for Health and Healing. And
go easy on this, Susan.
Yes, I was going to say.
I got a lot of relatives in the
yeah, I know. Well, you know, it's not always easy being asked to introduce your boss, right? Now, you know, you can either go overboard and come across, you know, sounding a little smarmy, especially to some of your coworkers in the audience, or you know, you can be maybe a little too understated, and you might be worrying about your job the next day. So there's this delicate balance that you have to play with that. So my strategy in introducing Dr. Stewart is to really try to speak a bit more from my heart. And you know, for me, choosing my work and my calling, it's very important for me to not only believe really in the mission of the work that I do, but also I need to be able to have tremendous respect for the people I work for and the people I work with. And I can honestly say that Dr. Stewart has always held my deep respect as a doctor, as a leader, and as a human being. And it's always been my pleasure to work with him. So a little bit more about who he is. He not only has he achieved certain esteemed honors as a physician, such as being on the best doctors list in America since its inception in 1986, but he's also a leader who really embodies integrity, excellence, passion for his work, and despite his numerous accomplishments, the ability to never take himself too seriously.
Rule number 6.
Yes, rule number 6. Dr. Stewart spent most of his medical career as a highly skilled and sought-after eye surgeon. He is the editor of a highly acclaimed and widely utilized 3-volume textbook on eye surgery and has lectured nationally and internationally. He served as a department chair of ophthalmology at California Pacific Medical Center and for 5 years, and then took on the role of medical director for the Institute for Health and Healing full-time. After visiting India and the Aravind Eye Hospital and meeting Dr. V in 1980, Dr. Stewart's life was changed forever, and I believe he will be telling you a little bit more about that. At that time, Dr. Stewart shifted his gaze from being just an eye doctor to really a doctor with a vision. And that's when he came back and began looking at how to incorporate some of the ideas he witnessed and experienced in India into contemporary medicine. He formed the organization that eventually evolved into the Institute for Health and Healing in 1994. And really his career and his personal life is an embodiment of integrative medicine, merging the best of science with the art of the sacred. So it's been an honor and to work with and learn from him these past years, and I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Stewart.
What a lovely introduction. Thank you very much, Susie. You can see why I look good. It's because I'm surrounded by staff like that. So I really, those of you who know me know that if I have an hour or two to speak, I can really make my points and I can develop them very successfully. But if I have to talk for a short period of time, that's very difficult. I really have to prepare my remarks. And I do prepare my remarks very carefully, but I don't think I've ever given the talk that I've prepared because something always comes up. And I knew in preparing my remarks tonight that 2 things that Dr. V always says kept going through my mind. You must have a quiet mind, and you must trust in the divine. So I'm not sure I've got a quiet mind tonight, but I think I sort of have an empty mind, because I am in the presence not only of the distinguished gentleman to my right, who I really am humbled to be sitting with, but there are people in the audience who humble me and bring me down to earth as well, starting with my son, my sister, my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law, my brother-in-law, and so many of you who are friends, and I'm thrilled that you have this opportunity, and really that it's an intimate opportunity tonight, to be in the presence of somebody like Dr. V and somebody like Larry Brilliant, and the Seva Foundation, who is in association with us in this evening and this celebration of Dr. V and his work. And I really want to introduce Dr. Ravi, the Chief Medical Officer at the Pondicherry Aravind Eye Hospital. His wife, Kanuma, who is Dr. V's niece. Suzanne Gilbert, who has been running the Seva Vision program for 25 years, and Larry's wife, Girija, who is the beauty and the brains behind Larry Brilliant. And I could go through everybody else here. Tony Kozlowski is here too, from the Seva Foundation. And anybody who I'm missing, I hope you introduce yourselves, because you're all real healers, and I appreciate your presence here. Now, for me, the first thing I notice about Dr. V, being hair challenged, is the beautiful head of white hair that he has. But other people often notice that here is a surgeon with gnarled fingers. And yet he is a surgeon of perfection. And where his fingers may not be aligned, where his fingers may not be perfect, his soul is perfect. And his soul is a much more powerful tool for the surgeon than his hands. And soon after noticing the physical attributes of Dr. V, you cannot possibly but be taken by his keen vision, by his charisma, by his kind of cosmic joy and wry sense of humor, and by the intense commitment that he carries to fighting the battle against needless blindness. And it's always felt to me that it's not a battle just of blindness as in physical seeing, but a battle against our lack of vision. Because he once said, I think, that if we could cure poverty, we could cure blindness. And that ignorance may be our greatest blindness. And Dr. V may not even appreciate how much the experience at Aravind Eye Hospitals and with him and his wonderful extended Aravind family had on me and my wife, Susie. Because there's no question in my mind, from my point of view, there would be no Institute for Health and Healing in San Francisco or Marin County or any place else if it hadn't been for our transformation, if you will, our experience in India. So Dr. V has brought together the spirituality of India and the technology of modern science to bring healthcare to the masses. And what you'll feel in him is beyond his words, beyond his story, but present in his soul force. And I'm deeply humbled and honored to have him here tonight, and for you to be able to see this movie and talk to him. Now, next to Dr. V is the present chairman of the board of the Seva Foundation, and also the founder of the Seva Foundation. And Larry is somebody who I will wax eloquent about, because he received the award from the UC Berkeley School of Public Health last spring as the International Public Health Hero of 2004. But I know him as a, no, I'm going to be serious. But he is a man of many talents and many skills, and a diamond with many facets. And I know him as a physician. I know him as a business person. I know him as an innovator. I know him as a public health hero. I know him as a student of the sacred. I know him as a convener and a synthesizer and a very powerful healing force. And also he's a father and a husband and really a yoga student and a dear friend. But most of all, I think what Larry Brilliant is a servant to those who are suffering. And we've asked Larry to set some context and perspective for tonight. So with great esteem and respect and honor and gratitude, I introduce the two gentlemen to my right and ask Larry if he would say a few words before we start the movie.
Thank you, Bill. You know, we're here tonight to regale Dr. V. Usually, when you do that, you introduce him and you tell about his credentials and the work that he's done. But you're about to see a 35-minute movie, which does that far better than I could do. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, what I thought I would do, instead of saying, who is Dr. V, because you'll see that very soon, I'd like to ask the question and express how much the world needs Dr. V and why we need the Dr. V's of the world. I just came back from India and from Sri Lanka and Indonesia. I was working in the tsunami camps. And I went to New Delhi, where the WHO regional office is. It's called the CIRO office, Southeast Asia office. And I was in the room where I first was recruited to work in the smallpox program 30 years ago. And I remember the first time as a Marinite, as a intern from what was then Presbyterian Hospital, now Pacific Medical Center, that I came from the Himalayan monastery that Kirich and I were living in, and I walked into the World Health Organization. My mind was still filled with Summer of Love rainbows. It was still that moment in time when we felt that there was a revolution of consciousness afoot, that the world was going to be better. And my first day, I walk into the room, and all around the briefing table were the WHO doctors, and they had come from all over the world, from Sri Lanka, they'd come from Sweden, and they'd come from Africa, they'd come from Mongolia, and it was as if the Creator had asked them to please sit at a dinner party in order, not of their last names or alphabetically from their countries, but in order of their facial skin tones. So I walked in and I saw a rainbow of human faces. Coming right from the 60s, you understand. And it felt to me like in the World Health Organization, this group brought together to to improve the health of mankind was the hidden potential of the secret of the meaning of our life. Well, now, 2005, it's a very different world. We don't feel that the world is a rainbow of hues, of colors, of facial tones. We see those institutions which emerged after the Second World War, the nascent world government, the United Nations, which was began in many ways here in Marin and in San Francisco with the League of Nations. Those strivings to bring people together and the infrastructure of a world of peaceful progress, coexistent, mutual respect. It's been cast asunder with bombs and invasions and with an increasing degree of fragmentation. Even that bugaboo that we thought we were going to lose, the nation state, has become even more ascendant. So where do we get our inspiration from if we don't get it from the rainbow, if we don't get it from the United Nations, if we don't get it from the World Health Organization? We get it from compelling, charismatic, overwhelming personal sacrifice and success stories like Dr. V. When Dr. V was 57, he reached the age of mandatory retirement in India from the university where he was a professor. He articulated an idea as he was leaving government service. And the idea was very simple. It was, why can't we eliminate blindness, preventable and curable blindness from the world? And from that day, for the last 25 years, I don't think there's been a day, an hour, a minute where he has wavered from that purpose. He talks often about how if you take a step towards your goal, the divine will infuse the work that you do with the power to effectuate it. And I think of great Viking ships with their sails unfurled and the divine wind blowing them, because he has unfurled a sail which has become a magnet, an inspiration, and a banner around which all of us have congregated. Dr. V was the co-founder of Seva with Suzanne and Girija and I and many others. He was at our first meetings. Seva was at the first meetings of the Aravind Eye Hospital when they were only 20 beds. And we have co-evolved. And I tell people this, you know, we used to think that Aravind was a Seva project. Now there's no question Seva has become an Aravind project. But so has Bill Stewart become an Aravind project. So has the International Academy of Ophthalmology become an Aravind project. So has the International Agency for Prevention of Blindness become an Aravind project. And it is because of his inspirational ability to focus only on doing the best that he can every moment in a way that's legendary. And I say I just came back from the tsunami camps, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I can't even begin to convey to you the scale of devastation. Miles after miles of rubble, 20 square miles where there's nothing higher than 2 feet of broken glass and broken dreams and torn saris, and yet the inspiration of all the young people coming from 100 countries, pitching 100,000 tents from the Netherlands and from Australia and from the United States and from France and Japan. That's another kind of great inspiration. The eradication of smallpox, the first disease ever eradicated. That's a great inspiration. Hopefully soon, the eradication of polio. These things, the eradication of disease, the coming together of people for the benefit of all, and the work that Dr. V has done, these are the things that in the post-Second World War doldrums, they're the things that are going to give us the energy, the motivation, the courage to every day go back to work, to try to be better people, to try to work harder, to try to accomplish more for the people in the world who need it so much. And for me, my inspiration in starting Seva is sitting right here, Dr. V. And for many of us, our inspiration in going into the field of blindness and believing that we can actually make a difference in that world is because of Dr. V. And so for you, when you see this movie, don't see it as a witness observing what Dr. V did. See it as a participant and ask yourself, where in you are those same seeds of faith and dedication that Dr. V found? Find those seeds yourself and then do in your own way what he did. Thank you.